In the quiet village of Yumyuk, life moved like the evening sun, slow, warm, and predictable. Cocks crowed at dawn like unpaid town criers. Old women gathered under the Udara tree to crack kernels and gossip about who gave birth and who died. And the children chased grasshoppers through red dusty paths barefooted. The village breathed with its people, farmers, traders, drummers, and dreamers. Among the dreamers were Obina and Adiz, two souls who had known each other from the cradle, like twins born to different mothers. They lived in neighboring compounds separated only by a short fence of bamboo sticks and climbing beans. Their laughter echoed through the paths of Yumyuk like the early sound of harmattan breeze brushing dried leaves. They did everything together. If Adiz was seen carrying a basket of cassava on her head, Obina would be behind her, carrying her water pot. If Obina went to the stream to catch fish with his bare hands, Adiz would sit nearby, humming old folk songs and cheering for every catfish he caught. They shared palm kernels, roasted yams, secrets, and even punishments. The villagers always joked, not only marriage remained, whenever they saw the two together. Obina was a tall, dark-skinned boy with eyes that held too much seriousness for someone his age. Life had not given him much, but he held on to what he had like a man afraid to lose his last breath. He lived with his uncle, a stern man who believed love was a distraction and women were the downfall of men. Yet, Obina loved Adiz with a love too deep to explain. It wasn't just romance, it was loyalty, history, soul. Adiz, on the other hand, was sunshine in human form. Her skin glowed like roasted groundnut, her laughter cracked like firewood, and her dreams were louder than the village cockerel. But she came from nothing. Her mother, Mama Ada, was a poor widow who fried akara by the roadside with a rusted pot and tired arms. They barely had enough to eat, yet Adiz carried herself like a princess, and Obina treated her like one too. When they both finished secondary school, life, as always, became unfair. Obina couldn't continue. His uncle made it clear. You want to go to university? With what money? Go and learn trade before hunger will finish you. So Obina went into business, selling motor spare parts at Nkwon Market. He woke up before the sun and returned when the stars were already blinking in the sky. Every kobo he earned, he saved. Every naira he counted, he dreamed. Adiz, however, got admitted into the University of Nsukka. There was joy. There were tears. But there was no money. Mama Ada fell to her knees one morning, wailing as she told Obina, "My daughter got admission, but where will the school fees come from? Do they take akara as payment in university?" That night, Obina couldn't sleep. He paced outside like a madman, his mind burning with thoughts. By morning, he had made a decision that would change his life forever. He sold the only thing his late father left him, a plot of land behind the stream, the one everyone said was cursed, but still valuable. People warned him, begged him, even mocked him. But Obina didn't listen. "I want Adiz to go to school. She will come back and change her family's story. She will marry me. She will be my queen." He gave Mama Ada the full money, enough for school fees, hostel, books, food, enough for hope. Tears washed her face as she looked at him. "Obina, my daughter must marry you. You're the reason our heads are still up in this village." Adiz held him tight that day before she left. She looked into his eyes and whispered, "I'll never forget this. I'll come back for you." And she left, with her dreams packed in a Ghana must go and Obina's heart still beating inside her. But the city has a way of changing people. Adiz met girls who had wigs longer than their sense, boys who had more lies than money, and a world where respect was measured by shoes, phones, and accent. She stopped picking Obina's calls after a while. First, she said her battery was bad. Then, she said network was poor. Then, she stopped saying anything. Still, Obina waited. He waited while fetching firewood for Mama Ada. He waited while building his small shop with mud and aluminum roofing sheets. He waited while listening to Adiz's sweet promises echo only in his memories. Every evening, Mama Ada would say, "My daughter is very lucky. That girl must marry you, Obina. You're the only son I never had." Obina would smile and nod, but his eyes always looked far away, like someone searching the horizon for a ship that might never return. His uncle spat every time Adiz's name was mentioned. "Foolish boy, you sold land to train a woman? You will cry blood." But Obina didn't care. He was in love. And love, as they say, Makes the heart believe even the moon can fall. 3 years passed, then 4, and then she came back. But it was not the Adiz he knew. She stepped out of a car the villagers had never seen before, wearing sunglasses that made her look like Nollywood actresses and a dress that hugged her body like nylon on roasted corn. Her lips were red, her skin was glowing, and her eyes, those eyes, no longer looked for Obinna. He ran to her the moment he heard. He found her at Mama Ada's compound, surrounded by girls from the village who now called her Auntie Adiz. She looked at him, briefly. Obinna, she asked, like someone trying to remember a dream that didn't matter anymore. He smiled. Adiz, you're back. I missed you. But she only adjusted her handbag. I've changed, Obinna. I've grown. You're still here in the village. Silence swallowed the compound. Obinna felt his heart stop. I still love you, he said, barely whispering. But she turned away, laughing. Obinna, don't embarrass yourself. We were children. This is real life now. I'm not in your class. She left him standing like a carved statue, alone, broken. Mama Ada wept that night, not just for her daughter's pride, but for the boy who had given everything. Obinna did not eat for 2 days, but he did not stop loving her. But fate was not done with Adiz. A man returned from abroad, driving a sleek car and spraying money like water at the village square. His name was Kingsley, and he wanted Adiz. Fast. She said yes before he finished asking. She said yes to his perfume, his watch, his fake English, and his lies. She said yes, blindly. What she didn't know was that Kingsley was a fraudster, the type that used women as bait, the type that would sell his own shadow if it paid well. One deal went bad. The client died, and Adiz was arrested as an accomplice. It was on the news. People in the village cried, gasped, pointed fingers. Mama Ada collapsed. She died the next week from stroke. Kingsley disappeared. Obinna stood by the graveside, his shirt soaked with sweat and sorrow. He never loved again. He returned to his shop, focused on his work, and never married. People would sometimes see him staring at the stream, where his father's land once stood, and whisper, he loved too much. Yumyuk had known silence before. It had known the kind of silence that came after a funeral, when the drums stop and the mourners go home, leaving only empty chairs and unsaid prayers. But the silence that followed Mama Ada's burial was different. It was the silence of shame, of regret, of wounds too deep for words. The compound that once smelled of frying akara and echoed with Adiz humming now smelled of dust and forgotten things. The thatched kitchen was half collapsed. The clay walls were cracked like broken promises. The only thing that stood strong was the small mango tree in the middle of the compound, and even that had stopped bearing fruit. Mama Ada had been buried in a corner of the backyard, beside her late husband, under the shadow of the tree she had planted when Adiz was born. The grave was fresh, the sand still red, the mound still sharp. A wooden cross stood at the head with charcoal writing. Obinna stood there every evening, sometimes with a small broom to sweep the area, sometimes with a plastic chair to sit and stare. He didn't cry loudly. His tears were quiet, small, stubborn, and painful. They fell when no one was looking, and they dried before anyone could ask questions. The villagers whispered, Obinna has not been himself. He hasn't opened his shop since Mama Ada died. Is he still waiting for that girl after all she did? But Obinna heard nothing. His ears were full of the past. He remembered Adiz in her wrapper, dancing in the rain as a child. He remembered the first time she held his hand by the stream and said, If I marry you, I will never suffer. He remembered her leaving for university with his future tucked in her bag. He remembered the land. Ah, the land. It had belonged to his father, Okonkwo, a man who worked like a buffalo and died before his harvest season. That land behind the stream had stories, old ones. Some said it was cursed. Others said it had hidden treasures. But to Obinna, it was a gift. His inheritance. The one thing he could claim in this life of borrowed time and borrowed people. He sold it for love. For Adiz. Now, it belonged to strangers, and the love was gone. His uncle, Enzemazi, had warned him. From the beginning, Enzemazi stood like a carved pillar of disapproval. He had a long face like an abandoned goat, a voice that trembled with scorn, and a walking stick carved from the root of an irako tree. He called Obinna a fool to his face and a disgrace to their bloodline behind his back. You sold our family land for a woman, he barked. She has disgraced you. Your name will never rise again. But Obina was tired of defending the past. He had learned that no matter how tightly you hold a dream, it can still slip through your fingers like river water. So he stopped talking. He returned to his shop one quiet Monday, swept the floor, wiped the dust off his weighing scale, arranged his motor parts like nothing had happened. The customers came back slowly. His friends greeted him like they were walking on broken glass, unsure of what to say. Only Chaik, his childhood friend who now sold second-hand clothes, dared to speak openly. Obina, I swear, you get heart. If not me, I for dawn enter river. Obina simply smiled and said, if rivers swallow, everybody way suffer, the world go empty. He had grown older in spirit. His face now had lines that didn't belong to a young man. His eyes no longer chased things. They waited, like a tired hunter who no longer runs after bushmeat. Meanwhile, news of Adi's case was still flying from market to market like dry leaves in Harmattan. People said she was in a female prison in Port Harcourt. Some said the judge had already signed the death sentence. Others said she begged to speak to her people before the execution. But no one had gone to see her, not even her surviving relatives, because Mama Ada was her only family. Her uncles had rejected her. She has brought disgrace, they said. Let her rot. Obina heard all of it. Every whisper, every murmur. Yet he did nothing. He didn't go to visit. He didn't send money. He simply stood in his shop every day, selling oil filters and spark plugs, as if the woman he once loved wasn't counting her days in a dark cell. He had loved with all his heart and lost with all his soul. One day, under the fading sun, a government truck drove into the village. The type that brought supplies during elections and corpses during emergencies. People gathered, curious as ever. From the truck came two men, official-looking, hard-faced. They asked for Obina. The villagers pointed. He's in his shop, beside the old filling station. Obina was tightening the bolt of a carburetor when they arrived. Are you Mr. Obina Okonkwo? One asked, holding a file. Yes. We're from the correctional center in Rivers State. Miss Adiz Nwok requested to see you. She has only 2 days left. We were told you're the only one she has. The world froze for a moment. Obina looked up, his fingers black with grease, his heart suddenly louder than the generator at Nkwo Market. Where is she? He asked quietly. The man pointed. Port Harcourt. If you want to go, come with us now. Obina washed his hands, changed his shirt, locked his shop, and followed. No words. No hesitation. He was going to see her, one last time. The road to Port Harcourt was long, not just in distance, but in memory. Every bump on the road reminded him of something. Her smile, her promise, her betrayal. He stared out of the window, watching the trees rush past, wondering what he would say. When they arrived, the prison was a fortress of sorrow. High fences, wired gates, dull uniforms, and women with empty eyes. The stench of hopelessness clung to the air like smoke. He was led to a visitation room. A metal chair, a glass window, a phone on the wall. And then as she came in, Adiz. But not the Adiz from the university. Not the Adiz who wore sunglasses and gold earrings. This one was thin. Her hair was shaved. Her face was tired. Her eyes, those eyes, were the only part of her that hadn't changed. They were still looking for him. She picked up the phone. He did the same. Silence hung between them like a heavy curtain. Then she spoke, her voice shaking. Obina, I'm sorry. Tears blurred his vision, but he didn't let them fall. I wanted to come back. I really did. But I got lost. I got greedy. I thought I could escape the life we knew. I didn't know I was escaping myself. He said nothing. She leaned closer to the glass. Do you still hate me? He looked into her eyes, then shook his head. No, I hate what you became, but I will never hate who you were. She wept. I'm going to die, Obina, and I don't want to die without hearing your voice. He gripped the phone tighter. I'm here, he said. I'll stay until the end. And he did. He stayed until the very last minute. He watched as they led her away, her steps slow, her face turned once more to look at him through the metal bars. He waved. She smiled. And then she was gone. When he returned to Yumyuk, the mango tree in Mama Ada's compound had started to bear fruit again. Obina picked one and sat beside her grave. He didn't speak. He simply placed the mango on the grave like an offering, looked up at the sky, and whispered, She's free now. He never married. He never left the village. But in every bolt he tightened, every screw he fixed, every mango he ate, there was a little part of her still with him. A story, a memory, a scar that never healed, but never killed. The rainy season came early that year. The sky over Yumyuk wept for days without stopping. The clouds groaned like a mother in labor. Thunder rolled like war drums in the heavens. And the red earth, thirsty for stories, soaked up every tear, as if it, too, carried the pain of loss. In the small compound where Obina lived, rainwater dripped through the cracks in the zinc roof. His mattress was damp. The air was thick with the smell of wet wood, burnt kerosene, and memory. But Obina said nothing. He never complained, never shouted. He simply moved his bed to the dry corner, laid down, and closed his eyes. His shop was open, yes. Life had resumed. But something inside him had not. The villagers noticed. They whispered again. Obina na strong man. After all that girl did to him, he still followed her to Port Harcourt. Do you know he waited for her until the execution day? Love na mumu disease. But they also said something else now, something new. Obina's heart is clean. That kind of man is rare. There was a market woman named Ezin, a widow in her early 30s who sold smoked fish near Obina's shop. She had kind eyes and lips that rarely knew silence. Every afternoon, she brought him boiled groundnuts or roasted yam. At first, he refused. I didn't ask for anything, he said. I know, she smiled. But not every gift must be deserved. Days turned into weeks. The rain began to ease, and Ezin's presence grew familiar, like a gentle song humming in the background of his sorrow. She never asked about Adiz. She never asked why he lived alone or why his laughter sounded like it was borrowed. Instead, she told him stories about her children who died during childbirth, about her lazy brother in Umwahia, about how she once slapped a goat that ate her plantain and the goat fainted. Obina would smile, sometimes even laugh. But at night, when the stars returned, he still dreamed of a girl in a blue gown, crying behind prison glass. One Saturday morning, Inz Emizi, his uncle, came to his shop. The old man had grown thinner. His cane clicked loudly on the cement floor as he entered. Obina, he said, lowering himself onto a stool like a chicken settling on eggs. Uncle, Obina greeted. I heard you followed that girl to the prison. You watched her die. Obina nodded, wiping grease from his hands. Inz Emizi grunted. I warned you, he said. I told you she would disgrace you. You did. I told you not to sell the land. You did. And now? What do you have left? Obina looked up, his face calm like still water. I have peace. That answer struck the old man like a hidden whip. He blinked, then sighed. You need to remarry, Obina. You're still young. Strong. Don't let the past tie your feet. I didn't tie my feet, he said softly. I've buried my heart. That's different. The old man coughed and stood. No one survives life alone. Even a lizard needs a hole to sleep. And with that, he left, his cane echoing down the path like a warning. Weeks passed. Then months. The village moved on, as villages do. Markets reopened. New gossip replaced old stories. Children were born. Palm wine flowed. But in the corner of Yumyuk, Obina remained unchanged. Until one day, a stranger arrived. He came in a clean white shirt and polished shoes, carrying a black briefcase and a bag. His voice was smooth, his handshake firm. I'm Barrister Kalu Naji, he said. I'm looking for Obina Okonkwo. Obina was tightening a spark plug when he looked up. I'm the one. The man smiled. May we talk in private? They walked to the back of the shop, under the mango tree that now bore fruit again. Children played not far off, their laughter rising and falling like a flute in the wind. The barrister opened his briefcase, removed a small envelope, and handed it to Obina. This is from Miss Adiz Nwok. Obina froze. He opened the envelope slowly, like it might bite him. Inside was a letter, written in neat cursive. Adiz's handwriting. He knew it, even in sleep. His fingers trembled as he unfolded the paper. My dearest Obina, if you are reading this, then I am gone. I asked the prison chaplain to find someone who could send this after my execution. I needed to speak to you one last time. I betrayed your love. I mocked your sacrifice. I broke the only heart that truly loved me. And yet, you came. You came when everyone else abandoned me. I deserved prison. I deserved the sentence. But I did not deserve you. I know you will never remarry, because you are too loyal. But please, Obina, don't let my ghost keep you from happiness. You gave me your all, even your father's land, and I gave you nothing. I see that now. Inside the envelope is a deed of land, signed in your name. It's not in Yumyuk. It's in Oweri, a small plot near Nikid. A friend I met before my arrest helped me secure it in your name. Sell it. Use it. Build again. Live. I was not your reward. But I pray, wherever you are, God will send you someone who is. Adiz. P.S. Mama loved you. She told me before she died. She said, that boy is your answer. Don't let pride throw your answer away. I didn't listen. But you did. And that's why you deserve more than this broken goodbye. Obina's hands shook. He stared at the letter for a long time. Barrister Kalu handed him another paper, the land deed. Then he left, saying nothing more. That night, Obina sat alone under the mango tree. The stars were bright. The night was silent, but not empty. He read the letter again and again. He folded it neatly and placed it in the wooden box where he kept Mama Ada's last wrapper. The past was a grave. But graves didn't stop trees from growing. He stood up and looked at the moon. I will live, he whispered. I will build again.